What up? What up? What up? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this 13th episode of the Backwards K Baseball Podcast. My name is Chris Asbrock, and each and every week I am joined by. I'm not going to Steam this time. Now I'm gonna get away from it.
Boo! Boo!
Fine, since I'm gonna crumble to it. I'm joined by this guy, Scott Kaiser. I told you I wasn't going. Esteemed guy. I'm not going to go co-host. I'll just go esteemed guy this time.
What's going
Scott,
on,
my man? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Although the injury bug hitting us just before the show starts. Jeez,
I know, man. Like
it is relentless this season. Relentless.
I know. As soon as we get a couple guys back, you get some guys coming out. It's absurd, man. It is absurd. But you know what? We got College World Series though right now, so I mean, there's that. That's comforting me right now during this time. So
it's keeping you warm during this time of coldness and injury.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly it. But unfortunately, it ends tonight, so then I'm screwed. So it is what it is. But
and then it's back to the cold reality of regular season baseball, where injuries have hit the Reds and a big name superstar in baseball that we'll get to here shortly.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Well, do you want to jump into? We're not going to get to that part. We'll jump into that in a little bit, but
let's jump into the rest of the show, my man. Let's lead it off.
Let's do it. Orelvis Martinez,
dummy,
complete dumbassery to the highest level on this one. He is the Blue Jays' second-ranked prospect overall. Was just called up Friday, and boom, dinged for PEDs. So he got the old 80-game sussy from Major League Baseball. Now, this is something I'm going to pull it up here real quick, Scott, which you sent me, which you know what, if I was more of a professional, I would have had this ready. But you know what? I decided, we're going to hold off on that. Yeah. So here's his, I guess, response to it. For the past 2 years, I've been trying to start a family with my girlfriend. During the off-season, we visited a fertility clinic in the Dominican Republic, and after getting lab work done, we were prescribed a treatment which included a medication called Rayhune 50, I guess is what it is. Unfortunately, Rayhune 50, that's what I'm going to call it, contains a banned substance called clomiphene. We wanted to keep this matter private even within our family and trusted the doctor who assured us this treatment did not include PEDs. Therefore, I made a mistake of not disclosing this to my team or the MLBPA. With that said, I took full responsibility for my actions and accepted my suspension. I want to apologize to my teammates in both Buffalo and Toronto, the Blue Jays organization, and most importantly, the fans who have supported me during my career. I will learn from this experience and come back to the field in September. So when you sent me this, we always talk, each and every day. We're always talking baseball, you and I are. And, you saw the note that I had done for the show, and you chuckled on it. And then you asked me if I saw that response, and I had not. Now, you said that was the first time you have heard of something like that. Now, my side, I back, years ago when I had covered mixed martial arts, I have heard of that before. I want to say once or twice, and I cannot remember the name of the fighter who got popped for it, or fighters, I should say, that have gotten dinged for this in this particular situation. I know you don't believe him. I'm pretty sure you don't.
I do not. I mean, let's just say I'm very skeptical at best. I mean, it's a creative. There's a lot of words. There was word soup there in his apology. I didn't want to tell. We wanted to keep it private. That's convenient.
When you're sitting there and you're not performing, and you can't have that part I understand. Like we're lucky enough that we breed excellence, Scott. That's proven in our 5 boys that we have. I think our wives would completely disagree with that. We all know they would agree that they love them, but maybe not the excellence part. But I mean, something like that, I think you would want to. I get him trying to keep that private. You know,
man. It just seems like
it seems like this dude, man.
it just seems like it's a convenient one because like who's gonna question it, right? You're like, oh, you're trying to have a kid, so people kind of back off. It just seems like it's a well-crafted excuse to me. I mean, I don't know. These guys are just supposed to know better, and it's hard to believe when this stuff happens. So I don't.
You really lean towards there ain't no excuses. You did it. You're done. Like there's no, I don't give a shit what you're.
Well, I mean, that's what the 80 games is for. I mean, and just
and I know, I get it because here's the thing: you popped. I mean, you pissed hot, man. Like I get it. I totally understand.
Yeah, but I guess for so long, guys were so dishonest about it that it's unfortunate that guys after him just have to face the fact that I'm just inclined not to believe them because there's so many there's just so many guys who don't get popped that when the guys do, and it seems mighty convenient that here's a kid who's hitting the most home runs he had hit, and of course, power comes with age and whatnot, but he had trended upward this year, and that was part of the reason he had become such a highly touted prospect. And then this happens. It just seems the timing just all seems kind of convenient. So I don't know. Maybe it was innocent, but it smells like smells like a duck, quacks like a duck. Thinking maybe it's a duck. So sit your 80 games and because this doesn't end guys' career, right? I mean, Noelvi Marte, he got popped. He's about to come back from suspension. I mean, it doesn't mean it's over, but you got to be smarter. Like, and I imagine that it won't happen to him again, but there have been a couple of guys who've gotten popped more than once. So, but I don't believe him. I hope that he spends time. I hope he spends the next 80 games thinking about what he did and, can continue on. But
hopefully creating a family.
It all just seems kind of funny. The timing of they took forever on calling him up. People thought maybe service time. Now maybe and then finally the Blue Jays kind of, I think their hand was forced with just injuries, but they called him up and he didn't play for the first 2 games, which is really weird. When you call up the number 2 prospect and he sits the first 2 games, he gets on the field, hits a single. Boom, next day's popped for PEDs. So it just seemed kind of weird how everything went down. Like, did they know? Because, I know when Marte got dinged, a lot of the talk was that the teams know, they get informed, I think 30 days or something like that. Like there's the appeals process happens before they get the 80 game suspension and it's announced. So they know well in advance of when the official announcement comes out. So if they knew and that's how they decided to handle it, like, isn't that kind of weird too? Like,
see, I had heard different. I had heard that they don't know.
Okay, and so I was gonna say, like, I don't know what the ultimate answer is there because I've heard both ways, that the teams are blindsided or that they do get tipped off and have like some kinds of heads up, like, yo, this is coming.
Because I know with the Marte situation, the Reds were completely blindsided by that.
Huh. I mean, people were kind of connecting dots in the offseason saying that if it goes back to, they would have known. And that's why they had signed Candelario for, having that insurance. And then obviously all the injuries ended up happening with all the infielders anyway. So it seemed weird. But that was some of the suspicion there, was that, when everybody else kind of looked around and we were shrugging our shoulders, like, why would they sign a third baseman? They've got Marte. Like, this doesn't seem to make sense. Then when the announcement came out, for us, it seemed like people were like, oh, well, they must have known then, and now that signing makes much more sense. So, but maybe they don't. Either way, very odd circumstances surrounding his call-up, his usage, and then the suspension, all within like a 36-hour period, essentially.
Yeah, that's that's pretty tough. I mean, especially for the Jays, who their season is completely gone sideways anyway, and then now you have this situation, and it is literally, you kind of lift your head up off the mat only to get punted right in the face again. And it's just, man, it sucks north of the border right now. I mean, just sucks if you're a Jays fan, because it's just, with all the talent that they have, man, it is. I mean, like I said, it's gone completely sideways. I mean,
well, and it feels like they've kind of like pissed away like some of the time on that talent, right? Like,
oh yeah,
they've had the talent for the last couple of years, and when it seemed like things were poised to go their way, they get to the playoffs and completely no show, and now things have fallen to where they're staring down the barrel of having to re-sign some of these bigger names, but they're at a crossroads. Do they re-sign, a Vlad Guerrero to long-term deal, a Bo Bichette to a long-term deal, but then kind of not have necessarily the money because they claim to not have the money, despite saying that they had a large sum of money that they could have dedicated to Ohtani. Though they did say that that was a special circumstance. So maybe they were just going to play some funny math there. But either way, they're claiming, poor on this whole thing and not being able to keep it all together. And if that's the case, they're going to have to start over soon if they can't, or operate under the guise of, well, hey, we've got Vlad and we've got Bo, and hopefully we can surround him enough, because so far that hasn't been enough with what they've tried to do. So,
you know what? Let's talk about that. I mean, I know it's not part of the rundown. What the hell? Let's go.
No, sure, go for that.
Let's I mean, now if you're the Jays, what do you do if you are in Ross Atkins' seat right now in the glorified
Mike of course chiming in saying owner's crying poor, that he's shocked.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. And the Jays are owned by the biggest media conglomerate in Canada and one of the biggest media conglomerates
in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Rogers. I mean, are you
like, if they're
me?
crying poor?
Yeah. So with that being the case, if you're the Jays and you're Ross Atkins, what do you do? If Scott Kaiser, you right now are the head of the Toronto Blue Jays right now, what do you do?
I mean, I think you got to re-up on Bo and Vlad. You don't have anything else, and to tear it down to the studs, those two are at their lowest value. So trading them away is not going to get you the prospect capital that you need to turn this thing around quickly, which would be the goal, is to try to turn it around as quick as possible. So you're going to have to take lesser guys, or guys that, may not pan out. I got to believe that you just, as crappy as the situation is, you just have to hope that those two just get better. And you have to roll the dice. And if it's between trying to figure out whether prospects from another franchise are going to pop in enough time for you to keep your job and set the franchise in the right direction, or just going with the guys that have already done it at an all-star level in the league, I'm just going to go on ahead and push my chips towards the middle on the guys that have already done it and hope for the best with surrounding them with talent.
And I completely agree. But here's the thing. And now you have to deal one of them. Which one are you dealing?
Bo.
Because I was going to say, because the rumor has been out there that the Los Angeles Dodgers are looking at going heavy on Bo Bichette on the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one that,
dude.
If I'm doing the cornerstone thing, Vlad edges him there slightly, so I'm just gonna go with that.
Yeah.
Plus, I still think that at their most premium price, at their highest level, like, you assume that Vlad would be the better player at his absolute best. So
1,000%,
that's what you go with.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's the thing that, for someone who's followed the Jays, like I have, I mean, this is, it's stunning that it just hasn't worked out this year. Now, again, in the offseason, they had the Ohtani, or they had the unicorn budget is what they called, and then they had just the regular budget. Well, my thing is, if you've got the unicorn budget, why the hell don't you use that as your regular budget?
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever heard a team admit that, yeah, we can find money if a situation arises like this, but also that money's not available if this situation is there. It's not like, oh, we have X amount of dollars to spend. It's only, we have X amount of dollars to spend on this one thing, but not nearly that amount if we don't. It was a really weird thing to admit that they had, like, right at the beginning of the offseason. Because even if you're negotiating with an Ohtani, then that's kind of leveraged against you, right? Because you know that there's an amount of money that they're willing to pay you above and beyond whatever it is that they have. So odd way of negotiating that from the Blue Jays side, from the get-go. But then on the back end, you've now screwed yourself because fans, media, everybody knows, oh, hey, you have all this money that you are willing to spend, but why aren't you willing to spend it? There's other ways to build a team than Ohtani, right? Like, he's not the only player in the league, so it's silly to think that you can't afford to get other good players if you are willing to put up the money for Ohtani.
And that's my thing is, you sit there and what do we always say? You spend money to make money.
Right.
And that is what happens in this situation. They are the only team in Canada. So that country is absolutely bananas for the Toronto Blue Jays. When they go out west to Seattle, all the fans come down from Vancouver and they flood T-Mobile Park for the Jays. That is the biggest series. Like the Jays, when they head out west to Seattle, that is a massive series every single time. They have the entire country in the palm of their hand. So spend that money and you're going to make it back. If that team's successful, Rogers Center is nuts. When that place is good, when it's buzzing, it is buzzing. It is a great ballpark. So I don't understand what the issue is. I mean, they just haven't, and then they dealt away Kevin Biggio, which it was funny because after our last show, I was like, shit, I meant to talk about that. And
that's right. You did get to me the next day and say, yeah, the thing that I couldn't remember that I wanted to bring up was the Kevin Biggio thing, which totally slipped my mind as well when we're talking about trades. Because once upon a time that would have been kind of an impact trade, but Biggio kind of fell to the point of just utility role player. So it completely slipped my mind last week.
And I think when that deal was made, I want to say on the Backwards K account, I was like, man, that's a great deal, because if that pans out, if he can find the form that led him all the way up to the bigs, the Dodgers are going to be in great shape. I mean, that's a great move for them, because that's just an all upside deal is all that is. So, I mean, for the Dodgers, it's perfect. And it might be great for Kevin Biggio as well to get that change of scenery. And if that's what happens, like I said, they're sitting pretty. So, and I think now, you move that. I don't want to say it's a first domino, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, now what are the Jays looking at now? I mean, it's like we said, it's not pretty there right now. I haven't even looked at the standings. Do you have them pulled up, Scott, or no? I haven't.
The standings. No, I
got it here real quick. I just thought about it. Yeah, the Jays they're 15.5 back right now. They're 35-42.
Wow, they're way farther back than I would have thought they were. If you had
completely gone
blind guess.
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, 15.5 back for the Yankees, in the division. So I mean, and let's see where they are on the wild card. Obviously, they're way. Well, luckily they're above the Angels, A's, and White Sox, but they're still 6.5 out in the wild card. So you're not completely out of it. But, with the expanded playoffs, that could be, do you make the move to, go for it? Which, I mean, they don't have really any moves to make in terms of going for it, but,
Man, maybe. Well, I mean, but looking at the standings, they're going to have a tough time, though, like assuming that things kind of stay the way they are, because, I mean, you got 3 NL East teams, or AL East teams in the playoffs right now. Boston would be the last team in, and then obviously the Yankees leading the division and Baltimore leading the wild card. So their path to get there is made harder by the fact that the rest of their division seemingly is already in there, and Tampa Bay is ahead of them in the standings as well. So not only would it be hard for them to get back into the overall picture, they have to leapfrog a lot in their own division. So, I mean, it's kind of asking a lot. Like, I understand.
They're going to leapfrog everybody in their division.
Right. To get back into the conversation. So 6 games for them actually seems like it might be technically a little bit more. I mean, obviously you have the chance to play more head to head with those guys in front of you in your division, but yeesh.
But let's look at it here. So Kansas City is only half game out of that final wild card spot. do you see Toronto making a run to surpass Kansas City? I don't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't, because Kansas City's played pretty well.
Houston's 4 games back.
Well, Houston's headed in the direction that we thought they were at the beginning. They would be at the beginning of the season. They're playing their best baseball right now, and they're making that surge. So
they're 7-3 in their last 10.
I was going to say I don't think there's a way they catch them either.
I was going to say, so that's 2 teams right there that you ain't catching. Tampa Bay. It's possible,
feasible, right? It's feasible because they're technically only 2.5 games behind them and the standings. I mean, I guess look, the wild card is kind of jumbled up. It's just it requires a lot of teams that have played well to this point to stop playing well, and for the Jays, who haven't really played well on the whole this season, to actually just get on fire for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it seems unlikely that both things would happen between now and the trade deadline, and that magical window where you're trying to get ahead of getting guys out there and getting the most value on them.
But here's the thing, like in looking at the wild card standings, you say they're jumbled up on, they are, but it's jumbled up after Kansas City, because Kansas City, like I said, is a half game back of the last wild card spot. Then you have Houston, who was, like you said, they're trending in the right direction. Tampa Bay, who was tied with Houston at 4 games back. I trust Houston over Tampa Bay.
Sure.
What about Texas? Texas is getting healthy. They're only going to continue to get out there.
They're the defending champs, so obviously.
Exactly. So they get healthy. Guess where they're going to be going? They're going to be skyrocketing up the standings.
I think the Tigers, the team right in front of them, is the only team that will probably continue to fade.
I would say the Tigers and Tampa.
Rest, yeah.
Tigers and Tampa are the only 2 realistically that you have a chance to pass. And that's it, because like I said, you're not passing the other 3 that we mentioned.
I mean, there's so much time that they theoretically could. It's just the way that they've played and then the way
that teams are
playing. Yeah,
there's a lot that has to go their way.
Yeah, and a lot has to go away in a lot shorter time if you're also trying to narrow that window of, are we in or are we out? But if we're out, we got to sell so that we're at the front of the market, because you don't want to wait too long to sell, and then everybody gets everything that they're looking for, and you're stuck taking even less for the guys that you wanted to get rid of in that case. So it's a delicate balance for Toronto. Like I said, they've got to haul ass for the next 2 weeks before the All-Star break, because basically, if they're still in the same position, kind of looking up at the All-Star break, then I think the conversation begins about pushing pieces off.
Well, here's the thing, too.
And if you're going to deal Bo, then that's when it becomes a real conversation.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is this week is the halfway point of the season for teams.
Right.
And that's the thing, it's like you always look at the All-Star break as, the unofficial
halfway point,
but it's not even close. It's like weeks past that. Yeah. So at that point, you're like, oh man. And then you realize, well, we don't have as long as we thought we did. So, if you're the Jays, like you were saying, you've got a couple weeks here that you better hope, you get a rocket strapped to your ass and you shoot up the standings a little bit. I mean, and that's saying a lot, because again, you're 6.5 back in the wild card. You better hope you really catch it and catch it quick, and it better stay on fire for, like you said, 2-3 weeks. That's optimistic as all get out. And
you got to be trying to win at like a 600 to 700 clip for 2 weeks, which is hard to do for even the best teams, but even harder to do for a team that has struggled to play. They haven't played 600 ball most of the season. So, well,
exactly. And that's, and that's the hard part. And the thing is, Bo's going to be the guy that's going to be dealt. Bo's going to command more capital coming back, I believe, than what Vladdy would. Just because of what Bo provides, top of the lineup, he does provide power. Okay, defense, he's not the best. But, I think Bo does provide more than what Vladdy does. But I would rather have Vladdy. So I think in that aspect of it, I don't see things getting better north of the border. So I can see it kind of going, the rebuild route, which it sucks because, like I said, if they fully invested in it, in the offseason, it's the same situation like, the Reds last year. We bitched and moaned, a couple pieces here and there. The Reds got lucky last year. Let's be real. They got lucky with the young kids playing out of their freaking minds for an entire summer. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that team. I mean, otherwise it's a last place finish for this team. But they did it right, bringing up the guys when they did, and it was fun as hell because they were playing. Like I said, they were playing out of their mind, and they got lucky. That's what carried them this past year. And now this year you're looking, it's like, well, now the Reds have the pitching, but they don't have the offense. So,
right.
And that's what sucked, so far in 2024 for us. But overall, this is what Toronto, all they had to do was spend some money, go out. And I mean, the guys were out there. Bring in a JD Martinez. Yeah, you got Justin Turner, but, just Justin Turner wasn't going to do it. A couple pieces there, like I said, a JD Martinez. They had talked, they were in the Juan Soto trade talks. Now, obviously, they were going to have to overspend in that, but, the guys were out there. Spend the money. You've got the money, you do it, and you're not sitting in last place 13 and a half games out. It's not going to be the case. So, this one is 100% on Toronto's, ownership and front office. And I mean, they're going to have to wear it, and it's going to suck when they have to tear it down because just negligence in the offseason when they're going to claim, well, we didn't have the money when you did, because again, ownership group is the largest conglomerate, media wise in the country, and hands down one of the biggest in the world. So you've got the money, spend it. And that's been my biggest bitch. I think every episode we talk about something like this, that's been my biggest, complaint about it. It's true.
About ownership. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the money's there. Baseball's as healthy as it's ever been. So you can't tell me it's not when guys are getting, they're getting, the Brinks truck backed up to their front porch every offseason. Don't tell me it's, that these teams, can't spend money. The Dodgers did. The Yankees did. And I don't care if it's big market or not. All these teams can do it. I don't care. That's just how it is. It's whether these guys want to win or not. And sometimes they just care about just making the money as opposed to spending it, winning, and making more on top of that. Because look at what Texas did. And it carried them to a World Series.
I just like that this whole thing started because Martinez took PEDs and we went on an indictment of ownership that don't spend in baseball. I love how we can always find our way back to owners being cheap asses.
That was literally 28 minutes.
It's a cornerstone of baseball ownership.
That was 28 minutes of just our wheels spinning. We were circling and we were... Dude.
Oh, that was a good one. I was like, I know we said we weren't talking about this. I'm like, where did we start though? Oh, the Martinez suspension. Instead, we gave it all the business to first Toronto's ownership group, and then throughout baseball, any ownership group that does.
How did we get from? How did we got from like that point to? How did we get to? Because I asked about, how do you hit? Oh, it might have been. Oh, I know what it was. Because we went from Martinez, there was another
right, and it was just in general,
right?
In general, Toronto's situation of having to deal with everything that they're going through, on top of the fact that they have one of their top prospects getting suspended for using drugs. So,
because why not? I mean, that's how it is.
It's kind of the least of their worries at the moment, I suppose, when everything's kind of going south.
Well, that's true. That's a great point. But you know what? At least they're not the Washington Nationals. Because
why? What did the Washington Nationals do?
Well, they decided to give up a game and lose it on a walk-off pitch clock violation.
So Nationals.
So the Colorado Rockies made history by being the first team to win on a walk-off pitch clock violation. Insane. Absolutely insane.
I had heard about this. I still hadn't actually seen it. So but I forget. It was.
Let's see.
It was Finnegan, right? It was the Nationals closer was on the mound, and he was the one that ended up not throwing.
Yeah. Time. Well, I was trying to see if I could find a good I can't really I can't really show a video, but yeah, it was Finnegan, and Ryan McMahon was at the plate. And it's, the Rockies become the first team in MLB history to win a game on a pitch clock violation. And it was like everyone was like, what the hell just happened? And the next thing you know, they're mobbing McMahon at first base for his walk-off
pitch clock. Now that's funny because I didn't even think about how I just heard that there was a lot of confusion at the end because players weren't exactly sure what happened. But having not seen the video, I didn't think that's pretty damn funny that they mobbed him at first base for that. Like, I do enjoy that. That's a great way to make a historic first. So,
it's awesome.
Congratulations to the Rockies, I guess.
Heck yeah! Oh, heck yeah, man! Go Colorado! I love it. Anything Colorado, I love. It's awesome.
Mike's got a good question here. Does a pitch clock violation count as an RBI?
You know what? I was thinking the same thing.
I think so because I think they treat it the same way as like a walk. Like, once if that happens and the bases or everybody advances a base, I'm pretty sure that they just get credit for it like an RBI.
Yeah,
there's been some funny rule things that have thrown me off. So I could be wrong about that. But between the pitch clock and the extra the ghost runner and extra innings, and how that's charged to the pitchers, and it's like, and they get the loss, but they don't get the earned run, so nobody gets the earned run. It's really confusing and weird. Even though so guys will lose the game, but they get charged with no runs. It's so goofy the way that it's scored. But in general, baseball scoring is actually pretty goofy a lot of times.
Oh, dude, it's messed up.
There's a lot of really weird calls that are made that I can't understand how and they're all kind of arbitrary. Like there's an official score at all of these ballparks, and they're the ones that actually decide. And I don't understand how some of them make their choices on some of these calls, but
which is funny because you and I always joke about it, and it's actually we're going to joke about the guy we're about to talk about right now, and Kyle Freeland, who you always bust my balls about it, but when I see Kyle Freeland, who made his return yesterday, he was out 2 months, and he goes 6 innings against the Nationals, gives up 1 hit, and I mean the dude was unbelievable. And what happens? The Rockies, end up blowing it, in the 9th, because why not? And it blows the win that he would get. But like I said, you always bust my balls about Kyle Freeland. But, and that's, stats are so, this is where I hate the analytical part of it. Now, analytics, is there a part of it in the game? Yes, by all means it is. But a lot of the game of baseball has to be done right here with your eyes. You see it and you feel it, what's going on in a game. So I've been a staunch defender of Kyle Freeland, also for some personal reasons on that. But
let's pull back the curtain on the fact that you have a kind of relationship there that there's a reason why I bust your balls over Kyle Freeland. Not just because I randomly chose to
out of nowhere, just this guy
on Kyle Freeland, a random Rockies pitcher to most people.
But and that's where, and you and I we've debated it, and I know you bust my balls on it, and it's all fun and games. But this is like the perfect, I would say he's the perfect example of why stats can be so overblown in baseball. Because and I watched the majority of his starts, and there's times to where obviously the Colorado Rockies can be completely dog crap. And when you're as a pitcher, you go out there and you're pitching, you're making your pitches. He pitches the contact anyway. If your defense is not making plays, that puts an undue stress on a pitcher in terms of, extra pitches and stuff like that. So therefore it does inflate some of the numbers, and it instead of going from a 15 pitch inning, well, the next thing you know, you're doing a 25 pitch inning in a higher stress situation, which puts more of a strain on, on a pitcher, and therefore that continues to snowball. So, and what was an example yesterday, or was it yesterday or this weekend sometime, the Oakland A's, and I heard this on MLB Network Radio, they were talking about it, that a pitcher comes in and does not even face a batter, does not even face a single batter, but still gets the win coming out of the bullpen. Now, I forget who the pitcher, I want to say it might have been Mason Miller, comes out, picks the guy off at first base to end the inning, doesn't even throw a single pitch to the batter. And he gets credit with the win because he holds the lead or whatever it was. Or no, he was the pitcher at that time. Boom, they score. So, yeah. So at that point, I mean, are you kidding me? So that's why some stats in baseball, and like you said, going back to your point of baseball stats can be so goofy. That's the case. I mean, that is, and that's been, when I would, talk to you about Kyle Freeland on a lot of this shit, like you sit there and you're like, oh, you'll give me a ration of shit about it. But
well, I was gonna give you a rush shit when you're going through your thing because you started off by saying you have to, stats can mislead you and all that, which is true, and you have to use your eyeballs. And then you're like, all the analytics get in the way, but also analytics help prove pitchers like Kyle Freeland are actually better than the numbers suggest because, factors such as defense and stuff like that.
Don't contradict us. We're not doing that.
I just want to point that out. That
we ain't doing that.
On the one hand, you're like, damn those analytics. But on the other hand,
I'm done.
Analytics also
you got
prove
this
your
show,
point.
man. I'm done. I'm done. I'm out of here.
Just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Just been pointing it. Kiss my ass, dude. Like this is, I'm just gonna sit back. I'm gonna watch the Stanley Cup Finals in peace here. God,
the Stanley Cup Final. There's no L, or there's no S rather. Mike wants to know though: is a pitcher's win-loss record the most overrated stat in baseball?
That and ERA.
That and ERA, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
because again, a lot of factors go into the ERA part of it too.
For sure, but I think
win-loss definitely it's the most overrated.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's become much more overrated as time has gone on. I feel like wins meant a lot more when guys were finishing games or guys were going 8 innings or whatever. Now, when you can, I mean, it's always been the case that you can get a win if you only pitch 5 innings, but the standard used to be for guys to go the full game or to go as long as they could. And that generally ended up being 7th, 8th inning a lot of times for the top end guys. Now the top end guys go out there, throw as hard as they can, and 6 innings is about as much as you can expect. Well, a lot can happen in the last 3 innings of a baseball game to either help or harm your win-loss record or whatever. So there's just too many variables that go into it. So it's become even more overrated where a guy can pitch into the 5th inning, pitch through 5 innings and play for a team that puts up a bunch of runs every time he starts. He could give up an assload of runs in that same 5 innings and end up with a win because his team scored more and then hung on to the lead afterwards. Doesn't mean he's a good pitcher. But, if you just look at the win-loss record and it can stack up a bunch of wins like that, it can skew everything. So, I mean, I would say that win-loss record has quickly become, and thankfully, I feel like baseball fans have gotten much smarter about it too. Like, it's not one of those things that has become obsolete and people still hang on to it. Like, the general consensus is that, win-loss record only tells you so much and it's pretty much an overrated thing across the board. So I mean, it's kind of like it's not tracked in football as much, but when they try to credit QBs with wins, losses, and stuff, it's like it just doesn't really. It works better slightly better in baseball, but same type of principle where it's like in a team sport, one guy isn't the only reason that he either wins or loses or wins or loses rather.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the crazy part about it. It's just like you were saying, some of the stats are, I mean, they're just ridiculous. But, like I said, and analytics do have a part of the game. I mean, they really do.
For sure.
But, I mean, for example, you and I, we coach baseball. And, I I'm pretty sure that you're going to sit there and be like, oh, well, oh, we got to take so-and-so out because, this is, I guess the analytics say, there's a 25% chance of this happening, but, so-and-so is dealing on the mound and, nobody's touched him. But, it's stuff like that I disagree with. You go by the feel of the game. And, yeah, you can look at the, analytics to help, a decision, but good coaches are the ones that aren't heavily relied on, we're heavily reliant on analytics, a la David Bell. David Bell is balls deep in analytics, and look what's happened. It's stupid sometimes.
Am I
right? Like,
yeah, well, and I'm more of a hybrid where I think that there's a happy medium that can be found in both old school way of just eyeballing it, seeing it, feeling it, and all that stuff. There's absolutely a place for that game, but the analytics are there, the data is there, and it might as well help inform your decision. But neither one of them should be like the sole driving force. Like you should you should combine the two and then make the decision. So, but I lean more gut. Like if it comes down to it, all your gut and your eyes should be able to tell you in that moment. So the probabilities can only go so far.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and I'm 1,000% with you on that. And that's one thing I like about Bruce Bochy.
Mike says that I'm the type of guy that would pull a kid who's grooving in favor of a lefty-lefty matchup in AEW. That's harsh. That's harsh, but it's true.
We were just talking about
we just talked about that yesterday when we were constructing the roster. And I was the one who brought up matchups. Dude, fucking nailed me.
We're gonna sword that one there. Dude, that is awesome. Oh my god, that is amazing. Well, you know what? We really should keep this good because
I've been hosting a show with Mike for a while. If you couldn't tell, he knows.
Dude, he nailed you.
Inner workings of the way that I think. I was talking about platooning my own kid.
He was. Because he's a right-handed batter, and there's going to be a majority of the times we're going to be facing righties, so it's going to be that righty-righty matchup. Shit, that is awesome. Oh,
well,
Mike, well done. Well done.
I don't know where to go after that. That's thrown me completely off. So, we talked about the Blue Jays. Hey, briefly, let's touch on because it happened in between last show. I don't think we had this on the rundown, but we need to talk about the game there that they did at the Negro League field.
Oh yes, I'm
forgetting the name of the field. It's escaping me, and Mike's thrown me all the way off, so I'm going to use Mike as an excuse to why I don't remember it. But anyway, I only caught a little bit of it, and a lot of it was because it was after my bedtime when the game got really underway, or it was just starting as I was heading to bed. So I only saw just a little bit of it, but I thought it was a great, everything that MLB did surrounding it, the broadcast itself. If you're a baseball fan by now, and even if you're not, because I saw it make national news too, you've seen Reggie Jackson's story and
oh my god
to and what he experienced. So just everything that happened surrounding that game, I thought was really well done and amazing. And MLB gets a lot of things wrong in marketing, and they make a lot of weird choices when it comes to things that I just don't agree with, and how they, market the game and push the game forward. But when they do things like this, and they, the Field of Dreams game, the special
heritage stuff is
they fucking nail it. So I do want to give MLB credit for what they did with this game and how everybody handled it. So
it was awesome. Yeah, that was a really cool.
Did you get to watch a lot of it? Because you and I really didn't even talk about it either.
Well, I know we really didn't. Well, yes and no. I watched a lot of the stuff going up into it, but then I'm not gonna lie to you, I switched off of it because I wanted to watch. Well, yeah, Cardinals and Giants, two teams I despise. So yeah,
well, that was what I thought. I was like, oh, it was the Cardinals playing, so I didn't think you'd have much interest in the game outside.
I didn't, but it was. To be honest with you, I turned it over and I was watching soccer. I was watching Lionel Messi. So I mean, that's being a soccer guy as well. That was kind of like, well, it's a no-brainer. Or I can watch two teams I really don't like at all. But it was. I mean, it was in all seriousness. I mean, like you said. I don't think there's a better league that embraces their history. The only other one that could do it would be the National Hockey League. But nobody does it better than Major League Baseball with the Field of Dreams game, like you said. Some of the throwback uniforms, even with the City Connects, in terms of the Atlanta Braves, for example, boom, that City Connect is hands down one of my favorites because of the ode to the Hank Aaron 70s jerseys. Man, those are unbelievable. Then you look at, for example, the Seattle Mariners, their City Connects go towards the old Seattle Pilots uniforms along those lines. The Texas Rangers, like that. I mean, they do. They're the way they handle everything. I'm just going to everything. When it comes to historical, Major League Baseball nails it out of the park each time. And this was another one. And again, the Reggie Jackson story gave me chills. I watched that and I was like, oh my God. I was floored listening. So if you haven't seen it yet, go on. I know it's on X. I want to say I retweeted it through the Backwards K account. Check it out. I mean, it was 3 minutes of pure gold. And it was a great job. And I saw somebody comment on it, like, great job of the producers to just let him go and just let him, describe what it was like during, his time. And, how he said that if it wasn't for a couple of his teammates, he wouldn't be here in terms of that, because he's like, I was a violent kid. I love to fight. And and growing up in that time, look what these guys were dealing with. And another instance too is them bringing out the old Negro League players was such a cool tribute as well. You had some dudes that were, 100, I want to say 100 years old or something along, like almost right there at 100 years old, I as a baseball fan, gives you chills, man. Like I just sat there and I sat there on the couch watching it and I just was like, man,
you sat there on the couch and you thought, man, this is unbelievable. As soon as this shit's over, I'm changing the channel though.
As soon as the game starts. This is such an asshole.
This pageantry gives me chills. I can't wait till it's over. I'm going to change the channel.
God, you're such a dick. Like, you are such a dick.
What a touching moment for these Negro. Look at them. They're so old. Oh, God, they should be revered. What else is on?
I hate you so much. I was looking forward to this episode, but now I'm about to just walk off. Say, dude, this is horseshit. This is literally
all right. Let's bring it back. Rex has a question for us. He wants to know, which present day athlete do we think could be a Bo Jackson?
Damn, Scott, I'm all flustered. I am sideways.
Oh, it was okay when Mike busted my balls about analytics with the kids' baseball, but not cool when I bust yours about changing the channel and actually seeing the game.
No, because I'm talking about something historic with the Negro Leagues here, and here I am. You're gonna sit there like, dude, that's not a good look on my part, man.
You're pouring out your heart and soul, and I just shat all over.
My racist heart, apparently, according to you on that one. God,
whoa! Hey. Nobody said it had anything.
Whoa! No. The way you portrayed that didn't look good on my part.
Oh, okay, fine. I wasn't trying to suggest that you changed it because it was. I was suggesting just in general, like here's all this stuff, and you're like, but I don't give a shit about these two teams. So boom, changing the
Well,
channel.
no, I hate those two teams. And I would have done. In all seriousness, I did the same thing in the Field of Dreams game too. I turned
Yeah,
on
no, so did I. Well, because
Yeah.
that was the White Sox and
Yankees.
Yankees, yeah. And so I ran into the same thing where it's bed, and so I don't get to see these. I don't even get to see the All-Star game anymore. Like it starts just before my bedtime, so I get to see the introductions, maybe a half inning, and then I'm done. So, but athlete Bo Jackson, nobody. Mookie Betts is a pretty solid answer. I mean, because we know he does the professional bowling thing. Like,
Dude's a freak.
yeah. Michael Harris is in a similar vein. He's a big time off the field athlete with other things he does and golf and
Ooh, that's a good one.
bowling. In fact, I think he bowled with Mookie.
He did. He bowled against Mookie. You're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So, but I mean, that being said, I don't think either one of them could play football based on their builds.
Not like that, yeah.
Right, based on Bo Jackson's unique. So
Dan Vogelbach,
yeah,
offensive line and
there you go.
Yeah, but also, I'm going Mookie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could play. He could find a couple passes out in the flats as a scat back. Is that what we're suggesting?
Exactly.
I don't know if Mookie wants to get lit up in the flat, but yeah, I mean, it's.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that there's anybody that can pull a Bo. Like it's tough because
Bo's the greatest athlete we've ever seen.
Well, and it's just the physical demand. Like you don't even see a Deion Sanders anymore. Like just the two sport athletes in general. Like as great as these athletes has got about conditioning their bodies and everything, like it's just too much. It's just too demanding for anybody to play two different sports, one of them being football. Like it's more likely that somebody would be able to play, a basketball and a baseball than it is just because the physicality. Like,
oh yeah. But I think, looking at, man.
Rex says that he thinks CMC could do it. I don't think CMC's hitting a fastball, but I don't know about. I don't know what he did.
Well, in all fairness, Adley Rutschman.
Oh yeah, that's right. Adley Rutschman played at Stanford, right?
Did you see the video of him murdering?
I did.
CMC on the kickoff return. Yeah. So there we go.
So I mean, there you go. Maybe Adley's the answer you're looking for.
No,
I don't know about Adley. Jackson. I was gonna say I don't know about Adley holding up during a full NFL season.
Adley kicked, and that was it. Adley was a kicker.
Oh, he was a kicker.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was I just thought he was on the coverage team on that play because I've seen it, but I didn't realize he was the kicker.
I thought he was a kicker. I'm almost positive he was a kicker.
Oh, and maybe
I could be wrong on that, and if I am, then I'm a dumbass. But
Mike says that he thinks in his prime LeBron, and yeah, I mean LeBron at one point was definitely a solid enough answer. I mean, you had NFL teams who were recruiting him to come out and just try to put on some pads. But he is also saying Kyler Murray. I mean, I guess technically Kyler Murray was drafted by the A's and does play quarterback. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about playing quarterback and then being able to play baseball, that works because you can't get touched in the NFL at quarterback. So, it has to be a position in the NFL where nobody can touch you. So, quarterback is
or kicker.
Yeah, those are the only two positions that you could probably be a dual sport athlete and play football and baseball anymore. There's just not going to be.
The thing is, like, you look at some of the videos that they were showing. I think we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but Caleb Williams, the video of him, in the batting cage.
I think. We did because what's his?
Because he looked absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was same thing with why am I blanking? The kid from Ohio State that's in.
Oh yeah. Oh God, the kid from Houston.
Yeah, and I gotta get to CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud, bam.
There it came to me.
We got it eventually.
Yeah. Right, same thing where him and somebody else threw out a first pitch. Looked woeful, just awful. Like it's just
brutal.
Not the same thing. So
it just shows how hard baseball really is.
Yeah, world-class athletes. And to go all the way back around to the original point, how incredible Bo Jackson was. I mean, because again, to be able to hit a baseball as hard and as far as he did and then be able to go and truck over dudes in the NFL is just
Didn't have his arm too.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, absolute cannon. I mean, the 30 for 30 episode that they've got on Bo. And I just, I was laying in bed one night and, my oldest son, Travis, he's 13. He was like, he was kind of sitting there and I said, Bud, you have no idea how good and how freakishly incredible Bo Jackson really was. And I mean, and that's the crazy part about it all. Bo Jackson was an absolute freak.
Yeah.
Greatest athlete we've ever seen. Obviously, because, well, that's all I've got, that's all I'm going to be able to remember is going back that far. I don't remember, any of the ones in years past, years prior to that, but greatest athlete I've ever seen. Yes. Hands down. But
yeah, I mean, I only saw the very end of his run. Like it was he was done by the time I really realized sports and followed things like that. So,
and I still remember watching the game when the Bengals ended his career. I can still see it. I was down in my grandma's basement. We always went over there on Sundays to watch Bengals games, and
nice.
Still see it. Can still see it. Yep.
Mike bringing up the fact that Jeff Samardzija recreating the Bo Jackson shoulder pad and bat poster. Now
Jeff Samardzija,
and there's another one you should forget. But and Samardzija played wide receiver, so he played a semi-physical position as far as one that gets tackled, unlike quarterback these days. So yeah, I mean,
and he could deal too on the mound.
Yeah, he had a nice little MLB career there for a little while.
He did.
I mean, he's probably, and to think that he was better at baseball than he probably would have been at football too, and he was damn good at football and in college. So
yeah,
I
mean, he was Notre Dame's top receiver.
That's probably the most recent example that we have, isn't it? Too of the NFL,
the true two.
And I guess he didn't. He never technically played in the NFL, so it was
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, Jameis Winston's another one.
He was an absolute freak at Florida State.
And he got drafted. He got drafted
too. Yep.
Tampa Bay, right? I believe.
Was it Tampa?
That up. I don't know.
I know in the NFL he did, but
right, yeah, no. I knew he got drafted by Tampa Bay in the NFL, but I thought that the Rays had drafted him too.
They might have. I can't remember who it was in Major League Baseball. But he was. I mean, he was unbelievable too. Trying to think.
Solid answers the more we think about it, but I
know, yeah.
The fact that you've got to think that hard and it's so sporadic, and the guys that we're naming never rose to the level of stardom that a Bo Jackson did either. Because I mean, even as good as Jeff Samardzija was, like he was never like a superstar. So
exactly. That's good, man. That was a good question.
I was gonna say that is a good question.
That was really good.
Can't think of anything else, but anyway, where were we? We were talking about we
weren't talking about. Well, I mean, anything on Max Scherzer coming back?
Well, Max Scherzer's back as of yesterday, and
he dealt in his game.
He did, but weird circumstances surrounding that. Because after the game, then he said, I don't know how I'm going to bounce back from this one. Paraphrasing, but basically, he made it sound like either he hasn't been recovering as well as he'd hoped in any of the rehab starts, because there seemed to be, in rehab, they're not necessarily on a 5-day schedule, or he's after the amount of pitches he threw in the game yesterday, which was only around 55, I believe. I was
going to say,
it wasn't very many. Just whatever that means for him at this point in his career, if he's just, this is all I can manage, and I have no idea what it's going to look like in the next time I start, just because this is where my body's at. So he's back-ish, but I don't know that we're going to see the 7 to 8 inning guy anymore. I think
not anymore. No, those days are long gone.
He's now firmly in the you hope to get 5, and at his best he'll get you 6 days.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bullpen work day when he's on the mound now, and unfortunately that's just that comes with age.
Yeah, but of course, again, getting somebody the caliber of Max Scherzer back, and then losing a Tatis too.
I was just gonna say, let's switch over to the injuries, man. Like that sucks.
Tatis, just before the show started, was announced that first of all, over the weekend he was hit in the bicep with a pitch, got hit, and it looked like he got hit in the elbow. They announced it as a triceps injury. He sat out over the weekend, but they said he could have pinch hit. Everything seemed all good, and then just before game time today, earlier this evening, it was announced he's out indefinitely. Essentially, he has a stress reaction in his legs. I guess they're saying he could continue to play through it, but the only way he's going to get better is through rest, and that he could be
That's
back.
the only way that gets better. Yeah.
The time frame though is
Ugh.
he could be back soon, as soon as the beginning of July, or he could be out until after the All-Star break. So it's anybody's guess. Like,
I mean, he could be out now or next year. Who knows? Like that's the time frame we're getting.
No. My guess, if I had to put a guess on it, is that they will go on ahead and sit him and get the rest he needs and just bring him back at the All-Star break. There's almost no reason to rush him back. The Padres are probably, not realistically in the whole postseason conversation. He's your future, all the money invested, your superstar. He's playing great this season. You don't risk damaging him anymore long term because he's another guy who's dealt with PED PED suspension before. So yeah, you get back a Scherzer and you lose a Tatis, and then we talked about Friedel back on the injured list after that catch that he made during the show last week. And then it turns out injured his hammy that night. They've tried to downplay it. Missed the same situation. Missed a couple games. He came back. He DH'd over the weekend, played sporadically, and then today they decided they're going to shut him down, so he's back on the shelf, which continues a long string of injuries this season for Friedel. Started the season on the injured list, came back, went back on the same day he got off, got back off this most recent time, played for the last few weeks, and is now back on. So it's just been a mess of a season for Friedel.
So on the Fernando Tatis thing, so I just looked at the standings.
All right.
San Diego is the last wild card team right now.
Ooh, okay.
And then you have an absolute shit ton of teams that are jumping all together.
I didn't know that they were playing that well. It doesn't seem like, relative to the excitement surrounding the team last year and the way that the things went in coming into the season and having Soto and all that fanfare, and then the relative quiet offseason where they didn't sign anybody, and then they just ended up promoting Jackson Merrill to fill one of the outfield positions as a rookie who was a shortstop prospect, and everything just seemed weird surrounding that franchise. And now they're playing well enough to be where they're in the last wild card.
Well, they made the trade to get Dylan Cease, and we're like, where did that come from when they didn't do anything before?
They turned around and made the trade for Arraez.
I forgot about that too. Yeah, so it's like
Arraez trade.
The most weird offseason for the San Diego Padres you're ever going to see. And I mean, we both had them in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure. I know I did. I think you did too.
I think we did, and that was before the trade. So, and
here's that thing now, in the standings, there's 7 teams that are within 3 games of the last wild card spot.
So I guess then though that means that San Diego actually does kind of have incentive to want a Tatis to get back sooner rather than later. Like obviously long term, bigger picture, you don't want to injure him worse, but in terms of making sure that they hang around in the standings and determining what they're going to do, if they're going to buy, sell, whatever in the next couple of weeks, they would rather have a Tatis in there than not have him. So,
and that's a tough situation to be. Yeah, because now, what do you do?
Right, and it kind of juxtaposes that Toronto situation where Toronto still didn't make the moves, San Diego did, and you see where they're at, but they find themselves in a similar situation as Toronto, but for different reasons. It's because are we going to fade out of this thing and not be able to pick up guys, or does it look like we might start to fade? Should we sell early, or do we, push our chips to the middle, go get somebody, try to add pieces and keep this thing going and hopes that, Tatis comes back healthy and we can still make a run at this whole thing and secure one of those playoff spots?
Yeah, I don't envy AJ Preller in that situation right there,
I
because
sure as hell don't.
that's tough.
But my guess
That's
is
tough.
that he's going to go for it. He's
Oh,
done
he
nothing.
does.
I was going to say he's done nothing but make moves to win at every turn, even if they've been crazy or seemingly nonsensical to us on the outside looking in. You can't say that Preller hasn't tried everything.
He goes, I mean, the dude's insane. Like when it comes, it's like he wakes up and just, I mean, smashes a case of beer, and then he's like, well, let's make some deals now. Because what he does is just completely like, look at the past couple off seasons. Like, I mean, maybe not even off seasons, even trade deadlines. You know, he goes and acquires Juan Soto, and I mean, they went for it. And it's crazy the stuff he does. But on the downside, it hasn't produced anything. You know, there's on all the moves that he's made and all the talent he's brought in, you would think that would generate a World Series championship, and it hasn't yet. So, right. You know, if you're the Padres ownership, I mean, now that the previous owner, was it Peter Seidler? Was that his name? I think, who had passed away. You know, there was talk that, when he passed away, that was really going to, really put a strain on AJ Preller and what he could do moving forward, because they weren't going to be as push all the chips in and go for it, like the previous owner was. So, I mean, I think in a situation like this, you're in the wild card spot right now. You have to somehow maintain it. Can you? Yeah, I mean, can you keep it? Just stay afloat enough, or do you have to go out there and make it? Because if you can stay afloat, and even if you're, like I said, you're half game up right now in Washington, and then there's 3 teams that are then within a game and a half.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think as long as you can stay within 3 or 4 games of that final spot, then you're
in good shape. Yeah. So I think as long as you don't completely fall off the face of the earth on this, I don't think they really have to do anything. Maybe, depending on what their roster is looking like at the trade deadline, make a move or 2, maybe, just to shore up, your roster going forward, for the playoff push. Other than that, acquiring, staying put and then bringing in Fernando Tatis off the IL is like acquiring Fernando Tatis in a trade anyway. Sure. You're bringing somebody like that back. So I mean, as long as they stay afloat, they're going to be in good shape. I don't see – they just have too much talent on that team to, for them to look like the Toronto Blue Jays and go down like Toronto is. So it's a position, like I said, I don't envy AJ Preller, and I really don't, because that's tough. You just have to trust that, Mike Shildt and his guys are going to, get it done on the field and, and keep it going. It's really all you can do.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Tatis is back sooner rather than later, because just like, every other big injury that we've dealt with, and having just got back Turner and losing Acuna and all that, like, this has been the year of the superstar injury, and it continues with Tatis, and hopefully maybe we can get a little bit of a reprieve after the All-Star break as far as losing guys in the second half, can have a little bit healthier time for some of the biggest names. I see you peeking out over there, which means you're probably keeping one eye on the College World Series.
I did, yeah.
We're going to go ahead and get into where we're at and kind of wrap things up here, so that you can go enjoy that. We don't want to keep you.
No, this
is the final though, right? Like this is
the final game, and,
right.
And this has MLB connections to it, because Caden Kent for Texas A&M, Jeff Kent's son, literally just hit an absolute screaming piss missile right to first base to end the inning with 2 men on at the corners. And I mean, that ball goes in the corner. You're tying this game up, because right now we're in the 6th inning, I think is what it is. And it's 3-1 Tennessee. But
Mike said Tennessee looking good tonight. So,
yeah,
and Tennessee was the number one overall seed, right?
Ugh, yeah. I don't like Tennessee anything, so I'm rooting for A&M. But in all seriousness, this has been just an unbelievable College World Series so far. I talked about it last episode, but the finals has been, it's been phenomenal to watch. A&M had gone through the entire NCAA tournament without losing until yesterday when Tennessee got them. I think it was like 4-1 in game 2, but A&M came out in game 1, got the job done in a game that, they had to fight off Tennessee in another comeback attempt. They got it done, and then, Tennessee got it done yesterday to take it to the all-deciding game 3 tonight, which I don't like. My thing is, if you're going to do it, it needs to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as opposed to.
That's the one thing I've never
I don't get it
about the College World Series. For everything they do right, the fact that they wrap it around the weekend and then have the final game on a Monday doesn't make much sense to me.
It makes no sense. Yeah, and that's what I don't like it. And then they played yesterday's game at 2 p.m. Eastern, and I'm like, why? No. Do it like that's prime time. Like you don't need to have a Sunday night baseball game. And I know it sucked. I mean, because wasn't it? Who was it last night? Was it?
It was Mets and were they in Minnesota or were they playing? No, they were playing Oakland.
Yes,
Minnesota and Oakland. Yeah.
So I'm like, nobody cares.
Or no, the Mets and
yeah,
God, no, they comes up like nobody. They wouldn't have put Oakland on the damn Sunday night game.
Okay,
Mets are playing somebody, but I'm blanking on who it was.
You know what I'm gonna do? Let's see. Let's look that up here.
Because again, it was after my bedtime.
Wasn't it? I want to say I thought at one point it was the.
Was it the Brewers?
Mets and Cubs. That's who it was.
Mets and Cubs. There you
Mets
go. That makes sense.
Because but again, you don't have to have Sunday night baseball on every, this would have been a perfect, situation. I mean, again, I know, you're not always planning on a game 3, every year, but dude, Tennessee A&M, this game right now, would have been phenomenal for Sunday night baseball, and that's just, I just don't like the way they, do it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all prime time and go from there. There's no need to have a game at 2 p.m.
That's right. Mike mentioning that.
Before you threw a pitch.
I was just gonna say we had another suspension on that. We completely forgot to mention the fact that good old, God, and I'm blanking now on which Diaz. Yes, I was gonna say Edwin. Edwin for the Mets last night came in, got the old check of the hands, got immediately sent off the field, and today was suspended for 10 games for sticky stuff.
You know what I'm really thinking about? We look really not prepared at all today in this show.
Yeah, no, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, yeah, that's like the third time that the comment section has chimed in with the topic or corrected us on something. So we're really firing on.
And I swear to God, folks, this is our rundown right here. This was legit it.
And actually, that rundown is better than the rundown and more put together than the rundown that we had from the past 3 episodes. The last 3 episodes, it'd be like 2 bullet point topics, and we just kind of go from there.
And well, that was it, because what the beauty of it is, we didn't really have much to talk about, but we had better shows. We were more prepared this time, and we sound like we have no idea what the hell's going on. We went on a 28-minute tangent on ownership that went off of PEDs. How does that happen? We managed to pull it off.
Completely forgot to mention the team that played 24 hours ago on Sunday Night Baseball, and then one of the players got ejected for using. We suck at this.
Dude, yeah, this is not our first rodeo, which is a problem.
Mike pointing out that we are in the right place, though. Welcome to the Craft Root Sports Network, home of not being prepared.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, Mike, that's the same thing with Impact Sports Cincinnati. We have no idea what the hell's going on. So there you go.
That is 100% accurate.
That's why this partnership's so beautiful.
A hallmark of this programming that you're afforded here. Good night, man.
Any hopes? We always talked about, when we first started this show. I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. Scott, our goal, we always said, would be awesome to get picked up somewhere on a radio station or Sirius XM. Let's live large. It ain't gonna happen.
There's no way they're gonna
listen to this. They're like,
couple of assholes. Oh yeah, we completely forgot who played Sunday Night Baseball last night. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah. Oh geez. Yeah. And literally, like I said, we are more prepared in this show than we have been the last couple of weeks. There's more to talk about. And we have literally, out of all the points, we have hit 1, 2, 3. Now we touched a little bit on 4. 5 if you include the College World Series. Other than that, we haven't touched anything.
We came out of the bullpen with sticky stuff on our hands. Is what we did.
we got pinged for it. It's
we're out of here.
Let missed it. Damn it. Well, that's a double. Man, well, that's wow.
Well, as prepared as we are, is there anything else that you had to get to? Because I mean, I feel like we've done a service enough here with this show. Good God,
man, I know. Well, I think overall, I've got nothing. But I had a good weekend. Being able to talk to one of my buddies. Hopefully, now that the pressure is off of him, hopefully he'll be able to join us on the show, especially leading up to the draft, because that's coming up here in a couple weeks. Again, if you get a chance, watch the remaining 3 innings of the College World Series. It's 3-1 Tennessee right now. And then again, it gets into full-blown draft season, and then it's the stretch run Major League Baseball. We're leading into that. It's a great time to be a baseball fan. It's awesome. So that's really all I've got. I mean, we're trying to get, we've got ideas on getting guys, to come on the show, which would be great. Hopefully just getting our schedules aligned to where it works out. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard in season to get some of these guys to come on the show. So we are working on getting that stuff to hear. But in the meantime, I guess you just have to deal with our hard-hitting journalism and all of our fact gathering.
Yes.
Each week here on
Can we say this is, how they always joke about, the award-winning front office show on MLB? Like, Can we say this is like the award-winning backwards? Like, if our kids give us like a trophy, for this, can we just say we're award-winning as well? Like, I
don't even know that would we get a participation trophy for this sometimes.
I think for shits and giggles, we should. I'll just have one of our boys just say, "Hey, Dad, we thought the show was great. Here, take our 2017 T-ball trophy, and we'll roll with that."
I mean, if we can slap award-winning in front of it, it might all be worth it.
That's what I'm saying. At this point, to salvage this shit, I think we have to. Because, dude, this was, a 28-minute tangent on ownership is pretty rough. That's not a good way to get going.
You know what? To quote Mike, it's been a show. That's what I have to say about that. But I think we should probably leave things there. Start rambling on too much more. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Backwards Cave Baseball Show. It's been fun. We're gonna try to get our shit together more next week. Although maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just come in here and wing it, because we came in here seemingly with our shit together, and you saw it. But if you enjoyed what you saw, we appreciate you tuning in.
We know they've been drinking if they did enjoy it. We know that.
Yeah, no kidding. And do the show sober. That's the crazy part. But join us and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Impact Sports Cincinnati channel, and of course right here on the Craft Brewed Sports Network. For Chris, I am Scott. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been Backwards Cave Baseball. We'll see you here again next week. Good night, everybody.